Bitcoin is firmly in its pre-halving rally phase to the point where it's actually broken to new all-time highs. This has of course never historically been done before, but we need to be talking about the upcoming halving phases nonetheless, even though we're seeing acceleration in this cycle. So let's talk about all of these phases that still lay ahead. Subscribe to the channel for more videos like this in the future. Like this video if you enjoy content like this going forward, and let's dive right into it. So this is the pre-halving rally phase. It tends to occur 60 days before the halving, and we've seen history repeat in that case. So while yes, we are seeing Bitcoin break to new all-time highs for the first time ever in the pre-halving period, we saw a breakout from this reaccumulation range right over here, right on time, right on schedule as per history. So there are things different about this cycle, but also history is repeating itself in some important ways as well. So we are having a mixture there. So this pre-halving rally phase, we are more than halfway through this phase, and many people ask me, sometimes a little bit maliciously, where's that pre-halving retrace that you've been talking about, Rekt Capital? Where is it? And the question, or at least the answer to that question, is the last pre-halving retrace tends to occur 28 days before the halving, as soon as 28 days before the halving, and as late as 2 weeks before the halving, so 14 days. And as you can see here, we're 35 days before the halving. So every single day that somebody asks me, when could a pre-halving retrace occur, I'm always going to say it's 28 days to 2 weeks before the halving. So you can see this orange danger zone potentially lays ahead. So we are in this pre-halving rally phase. We could still continue this week, going into next week, but then we're going to be entering that really important period where potential pullbacks can occur as part of the pre-halving retrace. When you look at the pre-halving retrace around 2020, 20% occurred before, some 2 weeks before the halving. And here in 2016, 35 days, essentially at this same moment in the cycle, we saw a pre-halving retrace occur 28 days before the halving, and we saw a 29% pullback, and if you count this downside wick, 40%, but I don't think that's going to happen in this cycle. But the main thing to mention here is that it comes down to this danger zone here. And that's not that I'm bullish on, or at least bearish on Bitcoin, because I am bullish on it. And any pullbacks around the halving event are going to be enabling future price continuation towards the upside. And I'm not saying that this pre-halving retrace is going to go all the way here, because as you can see, this light blue square here denotes a phase, and this red square here denotes a phase, and the pre-halving retrace also denotes a phase. So this pre-halving retrace denotes this time space essentially. So we are currently in the pre-halving rally, and we are more than halfway through this pre-halving rally phase, and we'll be slowly potentially transitioning into a pullback phase. And those who say that pullbacks don't occur, that the cycle has changed, or whatever narrative in that sense, 18% pullback in January, 14% pullback, rejection from the 350-day moving average, that is the pi cycle moving average, only recently. So minus 14% here, minus 18% here. Those have been the pullbacks that have occurred already this year. And so could we see an up to 20% pullback like we've seen in 2020 around the halving event? Saying that it's not possible, well then 18% here and 14% have occurred over the past several weeks. So saying it's not possible is simply not true, because it is possible. Pullbacks like that are healthy, and you can see that they are healthy because an 18% pullback here has preceded a fantastic move, and a 14% dip here also preceded a fantastic move into new all-time highs. So we can still continue going up in this pre-halving rally phase. We can still do that. We still have a week, 2 weeks, in fact, 2 weeks until we enter this danger zone, so to speak, where a last pre-halving retrace could take place. And so I'm not too ready, or at least I don't want to rush to discard these phases, because we have seen Bitcoin break out from this reaccumulation range into a pre-halving rally phase right on schedule, right on time, and history repeated in that respect. So to throw history out the window right now, even if things are progressing in a little bit of a different manner, that's a little bit too hasty of a decision. So with the pre-halving rally phase slowly ending, and I'm not saying it's ending right now at this price point, I would rather focus on this time frame where we could see a potential pullback, and that could happen from higher levels, lower levels. It doesn't really matter. I'm not trying to make a price prediction here. I'm just saying that this is the area time-wise where we could see pulling back into a healthy retrace that could last a little bit more than a week, because this 14% dip was 3 days long, or even 1 day long, I think. So maybe it could be a pullback, something like this, something very healthy that will take a few weeks and could precede some reaccumulation at highs. So as you can see, this cycle has been a story of reaccumulation ranges, so why wouldn't we see one develop after the pre-halving retrace in the reaccumulation zone here? Historically, we have seen reaccumulation ranges develop, and I think even this one was 150 days long. And you can see that these reaccumulation ranges can and do form after the halving. And for those who are saying this is a different cycle, cycles are always going to be different. And so maybe we have to try and think that we're not going to see an up to 150-day reaccumulation range. Maybe we see a shorter one, maybe we see a narrower one, maybe we see something like this after the pre-halving retrace, which will take a shorter amount of time. However, as you can see from this range, if we just copy paste it, essentially, that fits the 150-day reaccumulation period that has historically happened after the 2020 halving, for instance. So we've essentially had a similar length, a similar range in terms of time spent within the range only a few weeks, several weeks ago. So also we can't say it's an impossibility because it just happened right over here. So it's all about just looking to the past, trying to understand and set expectations, but also trying to understand how does the past still fit current price action, and it still does fit current price action quite well. So this reaccumulation phase could be shorter, could be narrower, but nonetheless it's worth looking for reaccumulation, whether it's at higher prices, lower prices, at current prices, still worth looking for reaccumulation in this red box here. It's worth looking for pullbacks within this 28-day wide time range for pre-halving retrace. And then of course the green phase, which we've already kind of seen already. We've seen a lot of that parabolic price action much sooner than expected, but nonetheless still that lays ahead in the cycle, because as we approach the most fervent and euphoric parts of the cycle, we tend to see uninterrupted upside to new all-time highs, and we make new all-time highs pretty much consistently as price progresses towards the upside. So those are the phases really to focus on. And if we're talking about this pre-halving rally phase not really being over yet, one of those things, the technical things that we need to focus on, is that old all-time highs have successfully been turned into new support already this week. So we've had a successful retest of old resistance into new support already. So technically, Bitcoin is gearing itself up for further price appreciation, and that makes sense because we still have up to 2 weeks left in this pre-halving rally phase. So for those who are saying, when is the pre-halving retrace happening or occurring, it's going to likely occur within this day in this range here. So a 14% pullback that we saw here, that's normal price action, and that tends to happen normally. But a dip isn't a multi-week retrace. And the people really who say maliciously that I'm bearish because I'm anticipating a pre-halving retrace, I'm anticipating a pre-halving retrace 28 days before the halving. We're not there yet. And we haven't been there yet for the many months that I've been talking about this pre-halving retrace. So it's important to be patient and also understand that we're trying to prepare ahead of time, not trying to call it in real time. So currently, the Pi cycle top moving average has been broken beyond, and the reason I include this chart is because we're successfully turning old resistance into new support. That old all-time high region is now a new support to springboard from, and you can see that this green Pi cycle moving average, which tends to act as a resistance, well, we're currently retesting that as well. This chart hasn't quite updated to reflect that retest, but that resistance is a confluent resistance with the old all-time high region. And so turning this into a support has proceeded upside. Really great to see retest support before rallying higher. Here you can see a picture perfect retest of the green moving average, for instance. But of course, we have to mention that failed retests end up in upside deviation. And at the moment, we're seeing upside deviation here actually as well. Upside deviation here, although that was a pre-halving year, but nonetheless, we're currently seeing a successful retest. And as long as that retest is successful, then we won't be pulling back, because that retest is looking good right now, and it does set price up for further continuation. So we can't talk about being bearish here right now for a potential pullback, because this retest is successful, and as long as it continues to be successful, we're going to continue moving up in this pre-halving rally phase, which still has up to 2 weeks left, and maybe even longer, because historically 28 days before the halving is where this danger zone begins. And that 28-day period comes from the fact that in 2016, 28 days before the halving, we saw a pullback before the halving. So that pre-halving retrace occurred 28 days before the halving. So this right over here, we could still see Bitcoin rallying even into 14 days before the halving. And that's the 2020 figure. So maybe we have this pre-halving rally phase rally even longer and higher. And maybe we get that local top 14 days before the halving. But still, I just want to emphasize that's during this 28-day window where we could potentially see the beginning of that pre-halving retrace. It lays ahead, potentially, should history repeat. And I know that history hasn't been repeating perfectly in this cycle, but has also been repeating every now and then. It's still worthwhile looking at history for some guidance, and that's why it's worth paying attention to this window. In any case, that's about it for today's video. Subscribe to the channel for more videos like this in the future. Like this video if you enjoy content like this going forward. I'm Rekt Capital, and I'll speak to you in the next one. Speak to you soon.